Hi friends, Bonnie here, and I have the final pages of Turquoise Tufa's 2025 Native American Jewelry Catalog to show you, as well as some pieces that didn't make the catalog because I ran out of room. I just have a few of those to thank you for sticking with me until the very end, and these are pieces that no one else will see but those of you who are watching this video. I want to start out with this really special Lavina Tsikewa necklace. Last video I showed you one that was absolutely spectacular by Lavina Tsikewa. It was all about size and scale and presence. It was just one of the masterpieces that Lavina has done. And this necklace is all about soul. It is smaller, it's a much more muted color scheme, and it has little tiny pieces of coral in between the hishi and multiple animals. There is so much soul here. Look at these animals up close for how special they are, and look at that coral you see. It just gives the necklace an overall beautiful look. There are birds, but there are also really sweet other little creatures in there. Not a whole lot of them, but enough of them to be a good mix of birds and others. I am wearing this necklace with these sweet earrings that are little beads. That's kind of a recurring theme in these final catalog pages. Some handmade beads that you will see. These, I'm gonna take one off so you can see it better. These are likely the work of Mary Marie Yazzie. Do you see that channel inlay coral with the really pretty bead? These will go with everything. They'll go with your transitional pieces, they'll go with your more vintage pieces like the necklace that I was wearing. Really, really sweet, really eye-catching and lovely. As you look at the beads here, I want you to see the beads that belonged to Martha Struever that were in the form of buttons. These are very early buttons from her collection, little silver buttons. See, there you go. And on the reverse, you have the old copper sew loops. You get a set of 9 of these, and that's enough to sew them onto shoes, to sew them onto a purse, to sew them onto a jacket. I love the look of these buttons. In fact, it might be something fun for you to begin to collect different old buttons and sew them onto one article of clothing or a purse, one accessory, and just have this work of art that you create off of the old buttons that you can wear. That's totally what I would do, but you can see how this early style of button, I have it in the bag now, inspires this later style of button bead. On the next page, I will show you Marty's other little buttons. There are 3 of them. They're also very early. Let me see where I put them. Here they are. And each one is a little bit different. You have really pretty old green turquoise. You have those copper sew loops. And then this one doesn't have its turquoise anymore, but it's still a special soulful piece. Imagine these put onto a handbag, put onto a jacket, and suddenly you have your own custom work of art that nobody else out there has. And you can add more and more as the years go by, which makes it something really neat. Now I want to turn from the teeny tiny buttons and show you something huge, massive, gorgeous, the type piece that will command all eyes on you as you walk into the room, and it still makes use of those early style buttons that it has turned into beads. This is a necklace by Andy Cadman. Now look at those beads. Do you see? Do you see right there? That is his contemporary rendition of those very early buttons of Marty's. How cool is that? This necklace is incredibly heavy gauge silver, and it has a massive turquoise stone. This is one of the reasons I do these videos, because I want you to see the scale of the pieces. This is huge and very, very cool. This is really all that you would need to put on. And I love the way he does this huge stone, then he moves up into the traditional looking buttons that are beads, and then this very heavy, heavy gauge silver chain. Let me put this on for you, and then you can get an idea of how big it is and how beautiful it is. You can't even see it because it's so big. Let me stand up. You still can barely see it. That is quite a beautiful piece, again, by Navajo artist Andy Cadman. And so neat. All you would need to wear with this in the realm of earrings, if you wanted to wear earrings at all, would be some button earrings. In fact, those early buttons of Marty's, you could have posts stuck on there and turn those into a little teeny pair that would accent this necklace. Let me back up. There you go. We've seen Albert Lee's beautiful jewelry appear in early pages of the catalog. Here's another piece by Albert Lee, and I hope you can see through all of the Albert Lee pieces the depth and breadth of the body of work he put out. This is really fine, natural red Mediterranean coral, what some would call oxblood coral. Look at how pretty that is. A very classic Navajo row bracelet. And look at what I have here on the terminals. Buttons, buttons, and Marty's buttons. The inside of this is beautifully stamped. It's just such a wearable bracelet. What I did on this page 28, I kind of made use of different circles. So you have the circles, of course, in this bracelet, and then you have the circles in these very contemporary carry-a-tumby bangles. I love them. I think they're so pretty. This bangle has a tiny little bead or button of 14 karat gold in the center. Then on the same page, we have the last L. Eugene Nelson piece to appear. It is a pin pendant. It's a really pretty smaller pendant. Of course, anything's going to look tiny next to this giant necklace, but it's really lovely. And notice how you have a little gold bead in there, much like the gold bead you have in these carry-a-tumbis. Don't those look cool together? Such a lovely piece, and I would definitely wear this as a pendant. I think it lends itself to that. The final pieces on this page that have this little circular or button theme are these Frank Patania Sr. earrings, strikingly modern. They go great with pin pendant by L. Eugene Nelson because we have his little circles. They also go great with carry-a-tumbis because you have these little silver circles in there. And again, reminder, Frank Patania Sr. was not Native American, but he did quite a bit to influence the community of Native American jewelers. He was a jeweler himself, and he founded the Thunderbird shop that employed quite a few of the greats in Native jewelry. I will need to take off this massive necklace so that I can show you the next big necklace. Both of these big necklaces are Navajo made, and that's something that you will find frequently in Navajo jewelry. Sometimes bigger is seen as better. This is a dual-sided necklace, so you get 2 looks for the price of one. Okay, so that is one side of the pendant. It's much larger in person than it appears on this video. I'll show you the other side, and of course take note of what the beads look like on, because you can wear them by themselves when you remove the pendant. It is by Philander Begay, if I neglected to say so. I love that one side is is coral, and then one side is turquoise, this beautiful Pueblo scene with mountains in the background. This ring by Lyndon Sosi, another Navajo jeweler. How beautiful is that? It's kind of Loloma-esque in style, how the stone drops down beneath the tufa cast band. And I don't know if you can see this here, but notice how the band, that's a price sticker in there, but notice how the band is kind of irregular as you go around. I just love that look. That kind of look is after my heart. So yeah, a really, really great ring by Lyndon Sosi. This is a Hopi overlay buckle that I think is just the bee's knees. It's almost like a butterfly design, and it's by Robert Lomodopke. Think about putting this on and just having this be your piece of the day as a buckle. I mean, that's really all you need with that great design in there. In fact, turn, if you will, to page 17 in your catalog and look at this butterfly bogard. And look at these zuni butterflies, and I think you can see the different renditions of a butterfly. I love this stylized idea of the butterflies. I think it's so, so pretty. I think it would be fun if you had something like this bogard to wear this buckle, or these earrings to wear this buckle. What I love about these is that each one is slightly different. They almost look like weavings, like a Navajo rug, but do you see how each of them is a little different? These are the details that again make my heart pitter-patter, these old asymmetries. They are cufflinks. You could convert them if you wanted to earrings, if you love this design and you don't wear cufflinks, just saying. So these are hair combs, so pretty. And Marty actually used to wear her hair ornaments. You can see that these are large, and these would be quite the beautiful look. I, again, have some others that didn't make it into the catalog because I thought these were the very best. If these wind up selling, ask me and I'll show you some of Marty's others. And then this little child's barrette. It's an early piece, and notice the back. You have this brass. We're moving to contemporary, but a very cool contemporary design that almost, it's kind of like a merging of more traditional and the contemporary. It's by Anthony Lovato, and notice you have these carvings that look like old petroglyph carving. And down below you have this gorgeous turquoise stone. It's tufa cast silver around it. So I love the look of this piece. And something really interesting, a lot of jewelers will say that if you see a piece and the stone is not set with a back of silver, it's not native made. This is a good example that you cannot always go by those rules, that there are always little nuances, because you see here, the back is left open. Let me put this one on though. I think it's so, so pretty. Looks beautiful with the color of shirt I have on. And even though this is a contemporary piece by Anthony Lovato, it's the kind of thing that would look great with some of the older style earrings that I have in the catalog. Isn't that cool? Again, it's bigger in real life. Because it's a hook and a chain, you could adjust it and you could wear it shorter if you wanted, or you could keep it long like I'm doing. Love this piece, love the combo of the kind of old petroglyph design and then the more modern look. And this is a pin and a pendant. It would be a super cool pendant on, say, some hishi. Like if you had a single strand of brown shell hishi, I think this would look so beautiful. Or I would choose to wear it on like a leather strap. But it's much more rustic in its look. Notice that bezel. The reason I have it on this page is because it's all about pottery, if you notice, all about pottery and corn. So this is corn, and then you have the corn stalks on this jar or this oya, and I have it with an actual piece of pottery. It's so, so sweet. It is by Sam Gray, who is actually Navajo, even though this overlay some people immediately think is Hopi. This is actually Navajo overlay, and there's 14 karat in there on silver, and this is a grandmother pendant. I think, if I'm correct, that Sam Gray learned jewelry making from his mother and maybe even his grandmother, and so this is kind of a piece that honors a woman's legacy. It's really, really touching to me this year, especially after having lost my mom, because you notice in this older woman here, this grandmother figure, here she is a younger woman and she's on a horse. And I feel like this is almost her memories of what she did as a younger woman. And to me, that is so, so special. It's not all the time that we honor women. And I think it's incredible that Sam Gray was able to honor the women in his family line through this very beautiful, very meaningful overlay pendant. Next, I have the two final pieces in the catalog, and they are both from Martha Struever's private collection. The first is this large serving spoon here. What I love about this serving spoon, well, there's two great things about it. If you notice the handle, like Lovato's pendant here, you also have corn. This is a corn stalk, an earlier corn stalk, but then my favorite part of this serving spoon is the steerhead. Do you see him? He is so, so neat. As those of you who know me know, I'm a sucker for anything with animals in it. And I actually purchased this from Marty's estate because I was so taken with it. And I used this spoon for my last Thanksgiving as a serving spoon. I put it out. I'm a firm believer in using these pieces. So I put it out. I used it with my sweet family, my dear mom. It was probably our last really, really great time together. That last Thanksgiving was just absolutely incredible. And this spoon has seen some just tremendous times, and now I'm ready to pass it on to somebody else because I've had my pinnacle time with it, and it's ready for somebody else. The last piece in the actual catalog is probably one of the most significant, one of the most special. It is a canteen, and it is from Martha Struever's private collection. Marty attributed this piece to Nampeyo Hano. It is actually a polaka slip. I don't know if you can see in this video, but polaka slip actually has a little bit of crackling in it. Maybe you can see that. What I love the most about it is this creature on the front. Marty thought that it was a lizard. I always thought that maybe it was some type of a mammal. Whatever it is, the design is absolutely incredible. And a few interesting details about this. It's a flat canteen, and you don't see a lot of flat canteens that were made by Navajo. Usually hers are quite bulbous. It was attributed by Marty for several different reasons, but one of those is it has this traditional, somewhat tilted spout. I'm not sure if you can see that a little bit. Navajo tended to have spouts that were just a little bit tipped on the canteen. Also, you have these ridges here in the handles. You see those ridges? You can run your fingers along them and really feel them here. Also, something interesting about it, it belonged to this gentleman. His name is N.H. Darton, and he was a field geologist. He lived from 1865 to 1948. This was in his collection, and he, you can see his name there. This is in unrestored condition. It's not in perfect condition, you can see, but I think that this creature here more than makes up for any lack of perfect condition on it. Marty acquired this piece from Bob, Robert Gallegos, in 2006, and then it went off to have a stand made and wound up getting lost, believe it or not, and it has just now come back to me. One more thing I want to say about Marty's Navajo pieces. For those of you who may remember back in the old days when you would come by her house/gallery, she had that incredible large nicho or shelf in which she kept all of her beloved Navajo pottery. Many canteens, many figurines, and this was slated to go there had we not lost track of it. But such a fantastic little guy. Just absolutely love him. I have a surprise for you. I want to show you this other piece from Marty's nicho collection that I don't think I have ever shown before. It's another one that was supposed to go in the catalog and I ran out of space. How great is this? This is an old Hopi piece. Notice the little bird. This is a napkin holder. You would put your napkin in there. Look at his little face and look at that beautiful painting. Look at the back. So this was Marty's. It was part of her nicho collection. So it went with all of these other Hopi great pieces of pottery. Most of them were Navajo. And I just now have this one to show you. I was gonna put it in the catalog, ran out of room. It does have a chip right there, but that's it. It's just so great. These old Hopi pieces like this are hard to come by. And again, you have the provenance that this is from Martha Struever's private collection, her nicho collection of pottery. How fun. I promised you a few more pieces that didn't make the final cut due to space constraints, and I have those few pieces now. So just to overwhelm you even more with fine jewelry, I love it though. This is an unsigned Phil Tsikewa necklace. Phil is Hopi. And look at these beads he's done of lapis and I believe azurite. And then he has placed this overlay figure, silver overlay figure, onto the necklace. You'll see how great it looks on. And notice he's even inlaid. So you've got beads, you've even got silver spacer beads, you have overlay and inlay in one piece. This is so pretty, and I so wanted it to fit in the catalog. Yeah. So there's Phil Tsikewa. Isn't that a striking piece? And Yeah, and remember, there's not going to be as much competition for these wonderful catalog reject pieces that aren't really rejects, because I bet most people are not going to watch these videos. In fact, I know for a fact most people do not watch these videos. Only a very, very small percentage of diehards watch them. This is just a great old naja on old beads, and it's strung on really old string. It's a longer naja for a nice look. Isn't that pretty? Again, wanted it in the catalog. The thing is, the necklaces take up the most space. So I'm limited by how many necklaces I can fit into the catalog, and then I'm limited by what looks best. These are by Alvin and Lula Begay, and they are just really, really striking on. They're Navajo, again, making use of kind of Navajo overlay plus inlay. They're feathers, and they are big and bold, and yet on the more affordable side. Aren't those pretty? You know, I always try to have more affordable jewelry for you, at least a few pieces in the catalog, and so these were going to be that. And again, you're the first few people to see them. Okay, final reject, and I use that very, very lightly, is this Harold Lovato cuff. You saw the Anthony Lovato. This is Harold, and it's so nice. It's kind of a cobblestone inlay, really beautiful piece. And it didn't fit in because it's kind of bigger, so I couldn't make it work. But this would look so nice with, of course, the Lovato pieces that I showed you earlier, but it would go with so much. It also would look really nice with some vintage, older style pieces, like even this naja necklace. Thank you so much for sticking with me as I walk you through this catalog. I appreciate your interest from the bottom of my heart. You all are just the best. Thanks a bunch. I hope you're able to find something that you really, really love, that lights you up, and that brings you joy.